So the extra subject I would like to cover with you today is British place names. So what we are going to deal with is the area of toponymy, that is the study of proper names and places, a sub-branch of linguistics. I know some of you are linguists here, so perhaps it will be of some interest to you, and you may have wondered like why some places are called the way they are. So I'm not only covering the areas from those counties that we have covered, so this is something that will hopefully serve you well for the remainder of the course. So let's first look at some general names, like it will be mostly either the words used in those place names as parts, or suffixes, so the kind of endings that can be seen in the place names. So the first one, quite obvious, land. Germanic word for land is land, so we have places like Rutland, Northumberland, and other places with land in it. It just refers to land. Then something I already mentioned, shire. So the Old English traditional unit of division of land. That's why so many counties have this shire, sometimes shortened to some sort of shire, like Berkshire, Cambridgeshire, Lancashire. So that's what we have. Then it gets quite interesting with the points of the compass. So nor for our Old English north, like Norwich, Norton. This nor prefix of course means northern. Ast, these are all Old English words for east. Aston, Astley, this is all Ast thing. Sud, sometimes changed to Sut, it's Old English for south, so Sudbury, Sutton, these are all places with this kind of southern location in them. And west, like in Wessex, Old English for west, so as simple as that. Next time, let's see, black and white. So the word win, it's Old Brittonic, it's not even Old English, it's older. Brittonic, win means white. So places like, for example, Winchester or Vindolanda, you could have this word, this letter change from or sound change from win into vin, for example. So one of the places on Hadrian's Wall, Vindolanda, it's also something connected with white. Then we have the black, and some of the words, mostly from Scottish Gaelic or Irish Gaelic, use the part duff or dub, which means black. So places, for example, like Dublin. Dublin has something black in it. Probably, I don't know, black soil or black hills, and it's something black. Then we have a lot of names with some sort of geographical features. We may end up talking about more geographical features later on, but let's look at some of those features embedded in place names. So the old Celtic words aber or inver, which means a mouth of a river, the confluence of waters. So lots of places, especially in Scotland, Aberdeen, Inverness, places in Wales like Aberystwyth, they all have this connection to the mouth of a river. More often than not, you will have the mouth of a river or a confluence of water. So one river, the tributary river reaching a bigger river. Then, of course, the Middle English mouth for mouth of a river. Plymouth, Portsmouth, Yarmouth, These are all names connected with the mouth of the river, so the place where the river reaches the sea. Then we have other things. Old English and actually Old Norse, which means the Viking language, word for headland, literally meaning nose, is ness. So places like Skegness, Furness, it means a headland, a promontory, a land reaching into the sea, like a nose really. The Celtic word for headland, literally meaning apparently head or top, Kotek, is Pen. Penzance, Penrith, Pendle. So the areas in Wales, the areas in Cornwall, they would rather have the pen part than the ness part, but it comes from the same concept of a headland. Then we have a bay. Old Norse, so Viking language, for bay, like this body of water, is wick. Wick, such as there is a village called Wick, but Berwick upon Tweed, Goodwick, and even the first name of the city of York, which was Jorvik. Jorvik means something connected with the bay. Then we have Old English for lake or pool. This word is mere. Places like Windermere or Grasmere, there was a lake there that gave it the name. A Welsh equivalent for the lake is Lynn or Lynn. So Dublin, Black Lake. See that? Dublin, Black Lake. And there is a town called King's Lynn, apparently also named after a lake. Then we have all those places with an element of an axe. Axe, X, it has nothing to do with weapons. It is an Old English for river. So Exeter, Axminster, they were all situated at a river. Then we have burn, nothing with fire. Burn is an Old English for a large stream or a large brook, so like a smaller river. Eastburn, Blackburn, Bannockburn. These are all places that were apparently situated on the banks of rivers or large streams. I mentioned the ford already, so a river crossing. It's Old English, it's still used in this capacity. So all the places like Stafford, Bradford, Guildford, Hereford, they had fords. So they had river crossing, a shallower place in the river that can be crossed even without the bridge. Then we have the dale. A dale is an open valley. It's a kind of old-fashioned word, but it's still used sometimes. A dale is an open valley in Old English. So places like Airedale, Rochdale, these are places situated in such valleys. A variation of a valley is a narrow valley or a ravine, and the Viking word for it was a gill. So for example, Gillamore is the place with some sort of narrow rocky valley, a ravine. Then we have the lows with an A or an O, nothing to do with, legal matters. This is an Old English word for a rounded hill. So Ludlow, Towlow, nothing to mention, let's say, any legal arrangements. There was a rounded hill there. Sometimes these names are quite localized. We visited virtually Channel Islands today, and they are close to Normandy, so they would use some Norman words like Hoe, which is Norman language for a steep shore. So you would find places like Jetto or Boorhoe, which means a place with a steep shore. So a village named after this geographic feature next to it. Then we have a whole set of place names deriving from places of human settlement. So we had, let's say, general things like the south, north, and the geographical features of the land. Now we have the features introduced by people, so some sort of settlements. The first thing is dun, the Scottish Gaelic word for hill fort. So a settlement on a hill with some sort of protective features. So places like Dundee, Dunbarton, Dumfries, these were all originally hill forts. An Old English equivalent is don. So you can see dun, don, den, dum. They seem quite similar, and they all mean a fort. So London has this element of a don, which means a fort. And all places like Abingdon or all others, dons, dens, duns, dums, they were hill forts originally. Then we have the suffix berry or burg or borough. Remember the London boroughs? This is taken from this. So Old English for a fortified settlement. So all these berry places like Canterbury, Glastonbury, Shrewsbury, but also the burg places, Edinburgh, Jedburgh, Peterborough, these were fortified settlements originally. So nothing is buried there. Perhaps sometimes it is, but it is the fortified settlement that gave the name. Then we have the Inkton, like Islington, and this is actually a combination of two, and you can find them separately as well. One is Ing, which means people of, and another one is Ton. Ton is a village. So let's say Wapping. There was a, clan called Wap, and Wapping is people of Wap. So Dorking, Reading, this all has this ing element, and ing means people of, clan of some place, the name of the clan sometimes. And we have the ton, Brighton, Preston, so the village. I think the word town derives from that. Then we have other words from Old Norse, so the Viking language. So you mostly find them in the north of England that mean hamlet or a small village. For example, Thorpe, like Mablethorpe. So this was a hamlet called Mabel. Then a homestead, so like a farm really. Toft, Lowestoft, Fishtoft. These were all settlements, human settlements. An Old English equivalent would be ham. Perhaps something to do with sheep, with pig farming, but not directly. Ham, like in Hamlet nowadays. Hamlet, a small village. So this is an Old English word for farm. So Nottingham, Tottenham, Buckingham, these were villages. Or farms even. Then we have places like Wick or Witch. Nothing to do with witches. This is Old English for an emporium or a trading settlement. A place where people would go to trade their goods. Mostly farmers would come to trade their goods. Ipswich, Norwich, Sandwich, Warwick. These are all places that had those trading posts. So Norwich is northern which means northern market, northern emporium. I mentioned already that sometimes these names are quite localized. They derive from locally spoken languages, mostly in Wales and Cornwall. There is this element tre, which means a farmstead, an estate. So in Cornwall and in Wales you find quite a lot of places with the tre element to their names. Tre Harris, Tre Near, Tre Degar. It was all originally referring to some estate. And the Old Norse thing for settlement, Old Norse word, is B. B-I-E or B-Y. B. So like Grimsby, Whitby, Rugby, Kirkby, Lockerbie. These were all probably Viking settlements, or at least settlements named by the Vikings. So some more. Now the Romans come and they start building Chester and Castor, so the military encampment. That's why we have the city of Chester. That's why we have Doncaster, Manchester, Lancaster, Winchester. There was some Roman presence, a Roman settlement, a Roman military encampment, or at least the Romans gave this name. Sometimes borrowings from Latin are found, like Magna or Parva, meaning great or small. So there are villages called Appleby Magna or Appleby Parva or Wingston Magna or Wingston Parva. So the big one and the small one, and they still use the Latin names. In Welsh language, we have the word Caer. Caer means castle or fortress. So that's why there are so many places like Caernarfon, Caerleon, or even Carlisle. Nothing to do with cars. There was a castle there, and the name of this castle came from the Welsh language. There are also lots of places named for the places of religious worship. Old Norse, so Viking, Kirk for church, also used in Scotland. Falkirk, Kirkwall. The Kirk is the church. In Wales, in the Welsh language, it's the lan. So it's any kind of holy place, usually church, monastery, sometimes a parish. Lan Dudno, Lan Golen. This is all referring to a church nearby. In Old English, a large church was called a minster. So Westminster, for example, it is the West Cathedral, West Large Church, and this is actually referring to Westminster Abbey or any large church that stood there before. Some more to the places like fields and areas of, let's say, agricultural activity. So Old Norse for meadow or clearing in the forest is twait. So Brightwaite, Slatewaite. It means there was a meadow or a clearing in the forest that was used for agriculture. The Old English equivalent is ley. So Burnley, Barnsley, this ley thing is the clearing in Old English. Of course, there are lots of places named with a suffix field, which just means a field, so the open land, so Sheffield, Lichfield, Wakefield. But there is another Old English word which is not used today, Ersh, which means a stubble field, a field with the straw on it. And for example, a place like Earsham is the place where such fields could be found. An Anglo-Saxon word for cleared woodland for pasture is fold. So Runfold, Dunsfold were the places that woodland was removed, mostly by burning, to use for pastures. And the last one, the Old English for an enclosed field, the enclosure. So a very characteristic feature of English agriculture, enclosed fields or enclosed pastures with the hedges around them. So the Old English word is hay or heath. So moor heath, northern hay, it doesn't refer really to hay like dried grass, but the enclosure. Another Old English word to mean enclosure is worth. Worth. So Kenilworth, Bedworth, Haworth. It's nothing about the value that something is worth a lot. It refers to the Old English term meaning enclosure. And the last one, an enclosed pasture, is a stead. So Hampstead, for example, is the place which originally housed enclosed pastures. So it's very interesting. I hope next time you see a map with all those place names and villages and towns, you'll be able to say something more about them. And we continue our discussion of the counties of England next week. Thank you.